Once again, it's on. Hi, I'm Lorenzo Thomas.
And I'm Jeff Fox.
And we are the Sports Brothers. Welcome to Review and Preview. And of course, I got to wish you, man, Happy New Year, dog.
Happy New Year, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't think I've seen you in 2020 at all. It's first time, right?
First time this year, man.
All right. Well, last year, 2019, was a good year for some people. We will run over some of the big stories of 2019, but we also want to talk about something that everyone's talking about, and it's the biggest show that's on cable right now, maybe the biggest show that's on TV. So on the show today, we're going to talk about Power.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little rundown of
They
that.
say this is a big, rich town.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to also talk about the hiring or lack thereof, the NFL, where they're not hiring a lot of minority coaches this year. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. And what else are we going to touch on, Jeff?
Hey, Tom Brady, the New England Patriots, it's over. Are you happy? The dynasty is dead. The king may be dead.
Yeah.
And what should Brady do next? Also, we're going to talk about the plight of the quarterback position in the National Football League, Lorenzo.
Or more
I've
like
got some interesting predictions.
The evolution of the quarterback
Yes, sir.
position. Yeah, we'll definitely
Yes, sir.
talk about that. But speaking of evolution and teams doing well, let's talk about our very own Miami Heat. As you can see, check out the spread right here. You know, we got that Heat logo right here. You see that?
Yeah.
We're doing it up real big. And they were victorious last night over the Indiana Pacers, 122 to 108, in a game that Jimmy Butler got into an altercation during that game.
Yeah, you know, he's got into it with, you know, what's his name, TJ?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Hushmanzada, right?
Nah, he's not even that good looking.
Right.
But you know, Jimmy Butler is that street tough guy. He
Right.
brings that edge to the Miami Heat, and that's something that's needed, I think, on that squad. And they're not afraid of anybody.
No,
Lorenzo.
not at all. And I think it's definitely indicative. I mean, not necessarily him getting into an altercation. Of course, that he stood his ground, but it's basically an example of the tough Miami Heat culture. And they were on the road in Indiana in a
house of
place,
horrors.
yeah, in a place they have not played very well. I mean, they've been fortunate to win a couple of playoff games there, but they put it down on Indiana last night and was up by 31 points at one point. And I don't even believe Butler or Bam. I don't even think they played in the fourth quarter at all.
Nah, and you know, I was actually in this club out and about and watching bits and pieces of this game, and it seemed like the Heat were always up by 20 plus points,
Right.
the entire night.
Right.
I just think it's one of those games that you kind of wash away because this Miami Heat Indiana Pacers rivalry goes back years, and it's always been ultra competitive.
Yeah.
The cast of characters may change, but the beef, the rivalry, it still remains.
Well,
Very intense
they're
rivalry.
going to have to see each other again. The Miami
Yeah.
Heat hit 16 threes in last night's game, and I think 7 players were all in double figures.
Yeah.
No one scored over 20 points for the Miami Heat. Do you think they
Yeah.
can keep this pace up throughout the rest of the season, Jeff?
I think they can, but it worries me because I've seen teams like the Miami Heat before. They remind me of the 1977 Portland Trail Blazers, a team with just a whole lot of pieces that fit together. That team won an NBA championship led by the Mountain Man, Bill Walton. And then you had the Detroit Pistons that also was a team of guys that just fit their roles. And they won a championship by beating the star-studded Los Angeles Lakers.
Right.
Normally, though, these types of teams don't win championships because you've got to have superstars. You've got to have difference makers.
Well, they have one max player in Jimmy Butler. Do you think they need to get another one? You've got some trade bait with Dion Waiters. You've got Kelly Olynyk, who's having a problem getting into the rotation along with James Johnson. And I think all of them are getting probably around 15, 13, 12.
You can make the
million a
numbers
year.
work.
Right.
You can bring in another guy, and I think they need another guy. You can make it work.
Right.
This
What's the
team
kid
has
from?
currently
What's the kid from the L.A.?
Kuzma. You know,
Right.
I'm hearing rumors that he may be on the block.
Right.
You need another guy though. You know, despite this team being loaded with shooters.
Right.
And there's this thing going around the arena now. We got shooters. I mean, and we do.
Right.
You know,
right.
the Miami Heat have become, you said it earlier,
Yeah.
essentially the Golden State Warriors.
Right.
I mean, they can get hot they can get
Yeah,
really insanely hot.
Yeah, something
from
interesting
downtown.
about last night's game is as if they played like a veteran championship team last night. On the road, it seemed as if every time in the first and second quarter, Indiana kind of made a run to cut it to about 4. The Heat just came back and shot threes. And then Hero would come off the bench and just dominate the second quarter and, of course, the fourth quarter, which is Hero time. So it'll be interesting. And they have some games coming up in New York where they're going to be playing the Nets and, of course, the New York Knicks. So I guess they're going to be 3-0 on this road trip.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some tinkering, though, along the way before we get to the playoffs. I mean, going into the season, Lorenzo, I was like 30, 40 wins.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be way over that.
Yeah.
The expectations now have exceeded anywhere near what we thought
Right.
going into the season. Now we're thinking Eastern Conference Finals and potentially NBA Finals.
Yeah, and that's why
we
we're
have
talking
to change our expectations.
Yeah, and
now.
that's why we're talking about a possible trade for another person, possibly a big. Everyone keeps saying that they do need a big, even though Bam is doing well, and I think that he will be in the Eastern Conference
he's playing
All-Star
yeah,
team.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I think that's a given, and you're going to have Derrick Jones Jr., who's participating in the dunk contest, along with, let's see, Robinson in that three-point shooting contest.
They got shooters.
Yeah.
They got shooters.
They got shooters.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and coming up right around the corner here on Review and Preview, we're going to talk about Tom Brady. And should he come back? What's
Where
he
will
going to
he
do?
end up?
I'm glad the Miami Dolphins ended their season in Foxborough. All that coming up right here on Review and Preview with the Sports Brothers. And we're back here on Review and Preview, the Sports Brothers, Lorenzo Thomas, and of course Jeff Fox. And the NFL playoffs are going on right now. And normally during this time of the year, we'll be talking about quarterbacks that are doing extremely well. And the one name that we would be mentioning that would be participating in the divisional round of the playoffs would be Tom Brady. But this year, thanks to the Miami Dolphins and the Tennessee Titans, Brady is no longer in the playoffs.
Yep, gone fishing.
I guess we'll have to say or ask the question: are we happy that there's no Tom Brady this year?
I'm
Jeff?
very happy. I'm very happy. I'm sick and tired of the New England Patriots. Sick and tired of Tom Brady and Belichick. But I do feel a surprising tinge of sadness.
Really?
That I think that we may be witnessing the end of a dynasty.
Well, I guess if you ask Tom Brady, he doesn't think it's over, because if you read his social media posts over the last couple of days, he referred to the fact that he still has more to prove. And that's kind of ironic coming from the GOAT. He feels as if that he still has more to prove. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens this offseason for the New England Patriots, because normally they would be participating in the playoffs trying to compete for a championship. But it wasn't. It was a year that was challenging for the playoffs. Challenging for the New England Patriots, even though they went 12-4, Jeff.
I don't know how. I don't know how.
Well, they do play in the AFC East. That's one.
That
helps.
The AFC least.
Yeah,
that
well,
does
I
help.
guess the NFC least
Yeah.
is a division that's is not as good as the AFC East.
Yeah, well, I mean, kudos for that.
Right?
What do you
Did I
want, a
say that
cookie?
right? I think I got it all
Yeah,
confused
wait,
there.
wait.
Both divisions suck. Let's put it to you
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, it does. It does. And when you can feast off the Jets and the Bills, and you can't really say the Dolphins, because
Can't-
the Dolphins
nope.
do beat them every year.
Right.
But the Patriots, I don't know how they got 12-4. Tom Brady seems to play with scrubs.
Yeah. Well,
And still
I mean, the
win.
cupboard was bare this year. I mean, we did think we ranked them Super Bowl champions once they signed Antonio Brown. So they had Josh Gordon, they had Antonio Brown. And could you imagine what Brady would have been able to do, at least if he had those two wide receivers, and perhaps maybe Gronk would have come out of retirement? I think we'd be singing a different tune right about now.
He absolutely would. But his best outside weapon was Julian Edelman.
Right.
And his tight end was Benjamin Watson, who's 67 years old. I mean, really, I don't know how he did it. 12-4? How?
So what do you think the future is for the New England Patriots and Tom Brady?
Well, I agree with Colin Cowherd. I think that there's an 80% chance he comes back to New England.
Right.
But the 20% is what really interests me, which is that he might relocate. He does want to play until
Right.
he's 45.
Right.
What does Belichick want? What does Kraft want?
Well, I think Belichick wanted him gone a long time ago. Garoppolo was basically Belichick's choice. So, and it was because of Kraft. Wow. And if you follow the New England Patriots and being a Dolphin fan, you see exactly what they've done year after year after year. They let those players go.
Yeah.
Before their time expires. I mean, that is, if anything, that is the Patriot way. So the fact that Tom Brady is still playing for the Patriots, according to Belichick, he probably wanted to move on a long time ago, and Garoppolo would be leading the Patriots instead of leading the San Francisco 49ers. So it's kind of interesting to see, Belichick could have put it out there for Kraft to say, see, I told you, basically, this is what he is right now. Even though he didn't have a lot of weapons and nothing,
weapons.
Didn't have anything to work with. But could you imagine what Garoppolo would have done with lesser players? And when we look at the evolution of the quarterback, which we're going to talk about shortly, this is where we need to go for the future. That pocket passer, the Breeze is gone. Brady is gone. As you mentioned earlier,
Manning's of the world. Eli Manning's of the world.
Now we have the evolution of the quarterback, which is now the elusive quarterback in the backfield. Russell Wilson has already won a Super Bowl, but he's been doing it for quite a few years. And now you got to look at Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and, of course, Lamar Jackson, who, of course, I said it early on in the preseason. This kid was going to be special when I saw him in the preseason last year.
Yeah, you did say that.
So he's something special.
And I think in 5 years, it's popular now to make this bold prediction, but the quarterback position has changed.
Mm-hmm.
You can no longer expect to have that stand-up pocket passer.
Right.
Now
right.
guys have to be able to maneuver, to run, the Josh Allen types, from
he's
Buffalo.
able to run. He's yeah.
Guys like that can make it. But you will see more black quarterbacks in the NFL than their white counterparts, which is ironic because one time ago in the NFL, in the days of James Harris and Randall Cunningham and Warren Moon and Doug Williams, there was so much talk about a black quarterback and can they play that position.
Right.
And I think the perception was that we weren't intelligent enough and leaders of men.
No, we could
and
definitely.
Now we have disproved that.
And then speaking of leaders of men, that'll lead us to what we can also be talking about, the fact that there's a lack of African American head coaches in the NFL, because it seems as if the 32 owners feel as if a black head coach cannot be the leader of men, or they may not want to have a black head coach on that sideline when they're trying to sell tickets, because that's a representation of who that team is represented by.
Yeah.
And it's a man of color. So, on that sidelines, those TVs and those cameras are showing a man of color or a man who's not a man of color.
And this is despite the fact that we've seen a Super Bowl with 2 black head coaches already. Obviously, black men can coach, but this league only has 3 African American head coaches.
And one black general manager.
Yeah.
Who happens to be Chris Greer, who's the general manager of the
Miami Dolphins.
Right.
But all the recent hires, no black head coaches. Mike McCarthy by the Cowboys. Joe Judge by the Giants. Matt Rule from the Panthers, and Ron Rivera, of course, a minority. We're not going to complain about that. I like him being in Washington. But guys like Eric Bieniemy, the assistant with the Kansas City Chiefs, who's done a bang-up job, gets no shot.
Right.
And African American assistant head coaches in the NFL are growing increasingly frustrated. They feel that the NFL is sending a strong message, that you're just not qualified, that you can't lead, that we don't want you.
Right.
So there's a ceiling for black men as head coaches in the NFL. College is no better. There's only 2.
Right. Yeah. And I think something that's interesting is that, you always hear people say, black people have made progress, right? But white people have made progress as well. And if you look at it, the NFL has made $25 billion annually. To a certain extent, they made it off the backs of 75% of the league that is black. So how do we solve this problem? What do we do to bring diversity to the head coaching position? I think it starts at the top. It has to start at the top. It has to come from the commissioner. And they even though they have the Rooney Rule in, they're still now finding ways around it. And we do have Brian Flores, who is now a black head coach for the Miami Dolphins, and Chris Greer. But Chris Greer was in the Miami Dolphins organization for almost 20 years before he had the opportunity. So it has to come. Pressure has to come from the people. Okay.
I have a
and then also,
suggestion.
what's the suggestion? And also from the Players Association.
Ownership. We need ownership. We need black ownership
Right.
in the NFL. That will be the beginning of some sort of change because ownership is lily white, except for I think the guy in Jacksonville.
Right. There is one. Right.
yeah.
Minority
Yeah,
owner.
but other than that, it's white, and it's been that way, and I'm not sure that has anything to do with the lack of hiring of black head coaches. But we need power. We need to be at the dinner table, and we're not there.
But you know what? I just wish there were some people in the NFL that were like, say, a Muhammad Ali or a Jim Brown or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, where back in the civil rights era, during that era, those played the Kirk Floods and all of them came together. Like when Muhammad Ali was going through his situation, they all came together. They had the summit. And I think you need people in the NFL that can come together. If 75% blacks make up the NFL, if you got all black players to come together in the NFL and say we're going to boycott, fans have said it because of their displeasure with things that have happened in the NFL as far as the kneeling for the flag is concerned. That brings us to Colin Kaepernick. He has been somewhat of a voice for the voiceless, but his voice hasn't been strong enough because he has been quite silent on his stance when we had his tryout. Yes, he came out and said some things, but maybe should have taken some questions.
Well, the whole Rooney Rule now, Lorenzo, has been looked at and regarded as a joke. It's just a box that you check, that you mark off.
Yeah.
Nobody's really considering these African-American head coaches. There's one more job opening, Cleveland, and they haven't hired a black head coach, and I don't think they will hire a black head coach. I'm understanding they're looking at Josh McDaniel and Jim Schwartz. So something has to change. Now, I like your suggestion about creating an uproar, but as we saw with the Colin Kaepernick situation.
But Colin is by himself. No one is protesting with him outside of taking
you're
it in.
suggesting that
they all collectively came together, African Americans in the NFL came together, approached the Players Association and says, this is something that needs to be addressed and something needs to be done. If not,
I'd love to see it.
If not,
I'd love to see it.
That's putting the pressure. And if they did that, you had people that were boycotting the NFL and say, I'm not watching anymore. But this last NFL, the playoff game between Seattle and Philadelphia was the highest rated show on television since the Super Bowl. So people are not boycotting anymore. They're watching their football.
I mean, this is just breaking news. The NFL playoffs have been fantastic. They've been fantastic.
Yes, but we're here talking about trying to take a stand and have some type of diversity in the NFL, and it has to be brought to the table, and it has to be brought to the table by the players and the Players Association, and addressed to the owners.
Yeah, it's on the players. It's on the powers that be, to create some sort of change. But bro, I don't know where it begins, man.
It can start with the black quarterback. These black quarterbacks that are leading these teams in the playoffs and possibly to the Super Bowl, they can stand up and take a stand, especially if two of them in the Super Bowl this year. Woo-hoo!
I mean,
Lamar Jackson versus Russell Wilson.
I'm frustrated. Man. I am. I am.
That's not a prediction, by the way, but I'm just saying those are the things that need to happen, and then those people can definitely let their voice be heard.
Yeah, I'm frustrated because I don't know what else a black man has to do to get considered for a head coaching job in the NFL.
Yeah.
Especially a guy like Eric Bieniemy. Not even a serious interview for Eric Bieniemy. That's a joke.
Yeah, it is sad right now. And Josh McDaniels is being interviewed again, and he had his stint as a head coach.
Good old boy society, man.
Yeah,
it is a good old boy society. It's going to stay that way until we have black ownership.
That's what
and
we
do have enough black people with the equity, with the money, to put this thing together.
Yeah. Well,
and make it
definitely,
happen.
definitely leave a comment on our Facebook thread there, as you see underneath the video, and let us know what you think about the lack of minority hiring in the NFL. All right. We'll be back with more right here on Review and Preview as we get ready to wrap up the show. Before we leave, we definitely have to talk about power. And we're back here on Review and Preview. Jeff Fox, Lorenzo Thomas, we are the Sports Brothers. And as we get ready to wrap up this edition of Review and Preview, we're going to talk about the show that everyone is talking about. And the name of that show is?
Power!
Thank you so much, Jeff. Now, why did you want us to talk about power on Review and Preview?
Because, people like to talk about it, number
Right,
one.
right,
especially
right.
our fans
Right.
out there. And I don't know how I feel about the beginning of the end of Power.
It's a challenge for the writers.
Yes.
It really is. It is really hard. And you got on me a little bit about my post. So on social media, after watching it on Saturday, of course, I got it on demand, so I get a chance to see it before everyone else on Sunday. I made a post that quite a few people commented on, and the thread went quite long, and this is what I wrote. Now, I just watched Power. This episode is lacking intrigue. Episode 11 attempts to tell Dre's journey through the night that Ghost is shot. Now, like never before, Power's writers awkwardly disappoint and confuse an audience that is trying to decipher who the shooter is. Now, while the writers introduced unfamiliar characters to the audience, in this episode, Power relied on a cast of characters who never had to carry an entire 60 minutes and attempted to establish a connection to an audience who never had an emotional attachment to either one of those characters from the beginning. This is not a spoiler alert. It was just basically to advise the audience to lower your expectations for the season premiere.
And this is after they spent all during the fall building up those expectations.
Right, exactly.
Teasing us.
Right.
Who shot Ghost?
Right.
And we couldn't wait for this final episode. What is it, 11?
It's episode 11 of season 5, 6?
Right,
yeah,
right.
Whatever. Right.
Okay, we're going to find out who shot Ghost. Finally. No, we're not.
Right.
We're going to milk it even
And
more.
then they spent now I like Dre, and if you're a fan of Dre, especially the ladies, they're going to love this episode, or they loved it. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting choice for the writers to make, to whereas they're going to use this whole episode just to basically focus on Dre and his backstory, which was kind of intriguing and interesting, but those characters probably needed to be established a little bit more in previous episodes for us to have that emotional attachment to anybody that was in that episode other than Dre.
Yeah, well.
And the two other guys, and they're kind of funny, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But there was one part of it that really disappointed me. And not to be a spoiler, hopefully you've seen it by now.
Yeah.
But when he was riding with the feds and he insisted he needed to take a leak.
Oh,
that was
that was so corny.
it was horrific.
Like really, that's supposed to be believable. I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
I forgot about that part.
that was, to me, that was one of the lowest points of the series.
Yeah.
You could come up with a better line.
Yeah, or a better way for him to get away.
Right.
It's like he got away by going to the bathroom. Yeah.
Terrible job. Terrible
and I think if you watch that part, it lost you right then and there, and it was like, oh, this is BS right here.
Yeah.
So but it's going to get better. I think this is going to be. There's 4 more episodes left. You're going to see more of Tommy, Tasha, Tate, Tyreek, Sax, and Angela's sister. And basically all of them were going to Club Truth to try to kill Ghost. They all had ammunition. One person we don't know if did Tyreek have a gun? I don't know if they showed that he had a gun.
I know he was trying to get one. He was trying to get one from Dre. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, is he dead? Is Ghost dead? Would they kill the main character of a series like that?
I've asked myself that particular question, and Tommy shot Angela in the same place where Ghost got shot, and if she got shot there right in the chest and died, it's safe to say. And then
they gave us a clue.
But in the episode, they said that he was slain.
Yes.
On the television. So basically they let you know right then and there,
gone.
that he's gone. Ghost is
Yeah.
gone. He's in the win. So, but I'm eagerly looking for. So, who do you think shot Ghost?
If I had to take a guess, I would say Tommy. I'd say Tommy.
Right. And then it's gonna. They're supposed to have a follow up.
I mean, Tommy killed everybody.
If anyone that can hold on to it and maintain another episode or another season of Power, it would be Tommy.
Tommy kills people, man. That's what he does.
Yeah. My bet is going to be Tyreek.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a guess. It's just a guess because now he kills his daddy and now he takes the torch and moves on.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. So make sure you watch it this Sunday or Saturday at midnight if you have on demand. For Jeff Fox, I'm Lorenzo Thomas. We are the Sports Brothers, and this is Review and Preview. Until next time.